The Mall of Mercury Heights hadn't seen a renovation since 1997. Its escalators creaked, its ceilings leaked during storms, and its food court smelled permanently of old fryer oil and teenage boredom. Still, people came. Not in droves, but enough to keep it from dying completely. It was 9:02 p.m. on a Monday when the last customer left and the gates rolled down with a groaning clang. Karina, the newest night security hire, scanned her ID and stepped into the maze of dim corridors and flickering neon signs. "Radio check," she said into the walkie on her shoulder. "Copy that, Rena. You're on the West Wing tonight. Just the usual patrol. You good?" The voice was Marcus, the lead guard, calm and low. "Yeah, just, never been here this late. Kinda has a vibe, you know? Don't psych yourself out. Place is old, not haunted." Karina smirked. "Tell that to the mannequins. They keep looking at me." She started walking past the shuttered shops. Forever Yours, a bridal store with cloudy glass windows, stood to her left. Its mannequins were posed like brides frozen mid-waltz, their plastic smiles unnerving in the dim. As she passed, one seemed to be turned more than before. She stopped. Squinted. The head was facing slightly toward her. "Nope," Karina muttered, stepping faster. She reached the old fountain near the center, a once grand installation now dry and filled with candy wrappers. An echo clinked faintly. Something metallic. Clink. Clink. Karina spun around, shining her flashlight. Nothing. "Marcus, you near the center court?" "Negative." "That you walking around?" "No, yes, I heard something." A pause crackled in the radio. "Could be the pipes. Or the rats. We've had raccoon trouble too." Karina frowned. The noise came again, but closer. This time it wasn't just a clink. It was a dragging sound. SHHRRK, SHHRRK. She whipped around, beam darting over the blackened storefronts. Her light fell on Fun Zone Arcade. Its gate was half open. Marcus?" she whispered. "Yeah? Did someone forget to lock the arcade?" Another pause. "That place has been closed for 6 months. Power's cut to it." Karina's heart beat in her ears. "But the gate is open, and I swear. I just saw a screen flash inside." Marcus was silent for a full 5 seconds. "I'm on my way." She swallowed. From inside the arcade, something beeped. A cheerful 8-bit jingle began to play. Karina hesitated at the gate of Fun Zone Arcade, her flashlight trembling slightly in her hand. The interior was cloaked in darkness, but scattered, glitchy bursts of color occasionally flickered from within, like ghost pulses from a forgotten machine. "Marcus, how far are you?" 2 minutes out. "Don't go in alone." "Copy," she replied, but her feet were already moving. The gate creaked loudly as she ducked beneath it. A wave of musty air hit her, damp carpet, burned plastic, and something faintly metallic. Her flashlight swept across long-dead claw machines and gutted skee-ball lanes. Then she saw it. In the center of the arcade, one cabinet was still powered on. Its title flickered in glitched red, Void Stage. She hadn't seen that one before. The machine stood out, sleek, newer than the rest, yet coated in dust like it had been there for decades. Karina stepped closer. The screen displayed a pixelated mall, eerily similar to Mercury Heights itself. A tiny figure wandered its empty halls. "Is this some old custom game?" she whispered aloud. As if in response, the game chimed and printed something from its ticket dispenser. "Were, KRSSHHK." A single paper token emerged. Karina bent down and picked it up. Her name was printed on it. Karina Holloway, Player 1. "What the hell?" Thud. A heavy sound came from behind her. She spun, beam darting wildly, only to catch sight of a claw machine arm dangling unnaturally outside its casing, motionless again when her light hit it. Thud. Thud. It wasn't mechanical. Footsteps. Quick. Bare. She backed away slowly, heart hammering. Marcus, I'm inside. Something's wrong in here. Static. Marcus? The walkie buzzed back in a garbled voice. Eve, arcade, now. Her light flickered violently, forcing her to smack the side of it. When the beam returned, something stood between her and the gate. Not a person. Not really. It was human-shaped, tall and stick-thin, but it shimmered like old static, as though it wasn't fully there. Where its face should have been was a gaping black triangle. Karina froze. The figure tilted its head and pointed one impossibly long finger at the void stage machine. The screen now read, "Welcome, Player 1. Game starts now." The lights snapped off. Karina screamed. Darkness swelled in the arcade like water filling a sinking ship. Karina's breath came in short, fast gasps as she backed toward the gate, but it was gone. Not closed. Gone. Where she had entered was now just a blank wall of grimy machines and flickering displays. Her flashlight fizzled out completely. She reached for her radio again, fumbling in panic. Marcus! I'm trapped in the arcade. Something's not. A sharp beep cut her off. It wasn't the radio. It was the game. Void stage buzzed with a louder frequency now. On screen, the pixelated version of the mall grew dimmer. The sprite, the tiny player that looked uncannily like Karina, stood motionless at the virtual fountain. A text box blinked below it. Objective, survive the shift. Karina didn't move. Something moved for her. The sound of shuffling carpet came from the left. She turned just in time to see a game token roll across the floor. It spun wildly, then clattered to a stop at her feet. This one was printed in red. Game token accepted. Suddenly, Fun Zone roared to life. Every arcade machine burst into flashing lights and warbled noise, sirens, clown laughter, ticket dispensers shrieking. The chaos disoriented her. She dropped to her knees and covered her ears. Above the din, a voice rang out, not electronic, not mechanical. Human. Wet. Wrong. Karina, come play. She turned. The shimmer thing was closer now, its limbs wrong in the light, like shadows moving in fast forward. No, Karina whispered. This isn't real. But the void stage screen had changed again. Her sprite was no longer alone. More figures had appeared in the pixelated mall, surrounding her. Night crawlers have entered the floor. In the game world, the creatures were rendered as crude, shifting shapes. In the arcade, they were real. Clawing through screens. Slithering out of coin slots. Karina ran. She darted past whirring skee-ball lanes and toppled Pac-Man machines. The air turned cold. Her legs burned. Something swiped at her hair, yanked a chunk of it loose. Then she saw it, one of the emergency exits. Lit red. Glowing. She slammed the push bar. Nothing happened. The sign above it blinked. Doors remain locked during gameplay. Behind her, the night crawlers were gaining. Karina grabbed a metal stool and hurled it through the exit door window. It didn't even crack. She turned, gasping, and saw a new screen lighting up. Void stage again. But this time, the message had changed. Round 1 complete. Player survived. Temporarily. And below it, time to level up. The arcade faded. Literally, faded. Like fog evaporating from glass. Karina blinked, and the machines, the walls, the floor, all dissolved into static before being replaced by something else entirely. Now she stood in a wide corridor lined with faded storefronts. It was eerily familiar, one of the upper wings of Mercury Heights Mall. Except here, the lighting was off. There were no skylights. No security lights. only flickering red strobes embedded in the walls like dying hearts. Karina stumbled backward. What is this? The void stage machine was gone. Her radio buzzed again, finally clicking through. Karina, come in. Marcus, she gasped, lifting the walkie to her mouth. I'm here, I don't know where I am, the arcade did something. Don't trust the all. You're not alone. The signal cut out. Click. A soft overhead announcement crackled to life, as though the mall's PA system were suddenly active. Attention shoppers. Floor 2 is now closing. Please collect your belongings and exit through the appropriate rift. Karina backed against the wall. This can't be real. Then she noticed it. Every storefront had something off in the windows, moving. In glitz and glamour, headless mannequins twisted slowly toward her. In Toy Town, a puppet with human teeth grinned from its perch. One store, an old CD shop, played scratchy jazz music on a loop, the stereo speakers bleeding with static. She turned and bolted. Down the corridor, past boarded-up food stalls and gaping entrances. Everything seemed stretched, hallways longer than they should be, ceilings higher than normal. Then she saw a familiar landmark, the glass elevator. Its chrome doors gleamed beneath layers of grime. It was her only option. She rushed inside and jabbed the panel. Nothing. The panel buzzed once, and a message appeared across a dusty touchscreen above the buttons. Level 2 challenge, escape the display room. Display room? She repeated, confused. Suddenly, the elevator jerked. Doors slammed shut. With a screech of pulleys, the elevator dropped. Not down, sideways. Karina screamed, bracing against the walls as the elevator was dragged through the mall like it was on invisible rails. Lights outside the glass flickered past in a blur, mannequins lining endless halls, toys jerking to life, figures darting just out of view. The elevator screeched to a halt. The doors opened into a massive, pitch-black room. The sign above it glowed. The display room, viewing begins in 5 seconds. Karina stepped out. The lights snapped on. And she was surrounded by glass boxes. Inside them were people, frozen mid-pose. Their mouths open. Eyes wide. Some were dressed like shoppers. Others like security guards. One of them was Marcus. He blinked. He tried to speak, but no sound came. She rushed toward the glass. And the PA clicked on again. Please, no touching the exhibits. Violators will be displayed. Behind her, something growled. Karina froze mid-step, inches from Marcus's display case. His eyes bulged wider as he mouthed a frantic warning. She turned slowly. Emerging from the dark corners of the display room was a creature shaped like a mall cop uniform filled with smoke and wires. Its name badge read Terry, but its face was just a mask, a featureless plate with painted eyes and a permanent grin. Dangling from its belt were zip ties and a rusted walkie, both crusted with dark stains. The thing's voice hissed from a speaker embedded in its chest. Security protocol engaged. Misplaced shopper detected. It lumbered forward with slow, mechanical precision, each step rattling the tiled floor. Karina stepped back, gripping a fire extinguisher off the wall. The cold metal gave her little comfort. Back off, she warned, voice shaky. Touching exhibits is forbidden. She flung the extinguisher at it. It bounced off the metal frame with a useless clang. The thing didn't even flinch. Karina ducked behind a display, heart hammering. Marcus's case was nearby, his fingers were pressed desperately to the glass, eyes locked on her. She mouthed, "Is there a way out?" He nodded. Then pointed, down. Karina looked toward the far end of the room where one display sat shattered. Its glass lay in shards on the floor, and an open vent yawned in the wall behind it, just big enough to crawl through. She sprinted. The security thing shrieked behind her, its steps pounding like jackhammers. "Please remain calm while mall security assists you," it crooned in a soulless voice. Its limbs unfolded into clawed grappling arms, one of which snagged her sleeve and dragged her backward. No. She kicked free, her boot connected with a weak joint. The machine sputtered, sparks flying from its midsection. Marcus banged against the glass inside his case. Cracks formed. Karina didn't wait. She dove for the vent, crawling into the darkness. Behind her, the security bot screamed a garbled recording. "You are now trespassing in a restricted exhibit zone. This infraction will be..." Slam. She kicked the grate shut behind her. Now she was in a ventilation shaft, cool air whooshing past her face. The noise of the display room faded into a hollow hum. She crawled until the shaft opened above another store. She dropped down into a candle shop. Candles of every shape and scent lined the walls. A sign flickered above the counter. "Scent of memory, light one to remember." Karina's eyes narrowed. One candle was already lit, and its label read, "August 19, 2013, Dad's last visit to the mall." The flame flickered, and suddenly, the room around her warped. The shelves shifted. A carousel tune began to play faintly in the background. She wasn't alone. A child, herself, much younger, stood by the counter. "Daddy?" the younger Karina whispered, looking through her. Then the lights blinked, and the girl was gone. Only the candle burned. And under the scent of cinnamon and dust, was ash. Karina staggered back from the counter, her breath catching in her throat. The air was thick now, not just with candle smoke, but with memory. It pressed in on her lungs, familiar and suffocating. She stared at the flame. August 19, 2013. She hadn't thought about that day in years. Her dad had picked her up from school, taken her to the food court, and let her ride the carousel 3 times. He vanished a few months later. No note. No explanation. Just gone. The flame flickered, casting shifting shadows across the shop. Other candles began lighting themselves, one by one. Their labels whispered names and dates in barely audible tones. October 4, 2011, the day of the tornado warning. December 12, 2016, the night you lied to Mom. May 7, 2020, you let him die. Karina's head whipped toward the last candle. She didn't remember that one. "Let who die?" she whispered. The candle let out a sharp crack, like glass breaking, and the flame bloomed 3 inches high. From the back of the store came a dragging sound. Then a whisper, "You were there." "No," she said quickly, backing up. This isn't real." The rows of shelves elongated around her, forming a corridor. A figure appeared at the far end. Slender. Head bowed. Hands blackened as if burned. "Stop," she said, heart racing. The figure kept moving toward her, muttering with a voice like paper being torn, "You left me. You saw the flames. You ran." Karina stumbled into a display rack, knocking over a dozen candles. Their flames rose in unison, and every one showed an image inside, moving visions, like living photographs. Each showed Karina at various ages, running, hiding, watching. The figure was closer now. She ran toward the store's exit. The glass door warped, transforming into the sliding gates of the mall's seasonal kiosk plaza, the little island shops that popped up around Christmas. She ducked through and... bam! She slammed into something invisible. The world glitched again. Now she was in the mall, but wrong. Everything was rotated 90 degrees. Kiosks were on the walls. The ceiling was now the floor. Lights dangled sideways. Gravity made no sense, yet she stood upright. A directory screen buzzed to life beside her. "Congratulations, Player 1. You've unlocked Memory Floor. Objective, confront. End. Remember." A dozen escalators twisted in impossible directions around her, leading to places that shouldn't exist, a hospital hallway, a burning kitchen, a graveyard beneath a shopping center. And then she saw it again. Void stage. right at the center, pulsing like a living heart. But it was different now. Its screen showed her, not pixelated, but live. As she was now. A message scrolled across. Level 3, final discount. No returns. Karina stepped cautiously into the warped plaza. Escalators twisted like metal snakes overhead, connecting doors suspended in midair. The mall no longer cared for laws like gravity or time, it bent for something else now. Something ancient that fed on memory, fear, and forgotten footsteps. The void stage machine pulsed with each of her heartbeats. She didn't want to get closer. But the floor beneath her subtly shifted, tilting, pushing her toward it like she were a product on a conveyor belt. She stopped at a broken bench, trying to center herself. This is still a game. It has to be. Some psychological VR, some trauma sim, or... But part of her knew better. This place was older than electricity. Older than any machine. It had just learned how to speak through pixels. The air grew dense with perfume, cheap cologne, and mildew. She'd entered a space resembling a long-forgotten department store, Luxor's fashion. She recognized it instantly. This was where she and her dad had bought her winter coat that same day in 2013. But the store was wrong now. A single aisle stretched endlessly forward, lined with full-length mirrors instead of clothing. As she walked, each reflection twisted. One mirror showed her younger, carefree, smiling. The next, older, hardened, smeared with ash. Another, strangled in wires. Eyes wide. Silent. She stepped back, and the mirrors began to ripple like disturbed water. Each reflected version of her stepped forward from the glass. They didn't match her movements anymore. They watched her. One reached out and pressed a palm to the glass. It bled from the eyes. Another whispered, mouth stretching impossibly wide. "You left me in the fire." "No," Karina gasped. "That wasn't my fault." Behind her, the mirrors shattered all at once. A thunderous voice boomed over the PA. "Final discount in effect. All sales are final." The mannequins emerged from the shadows, dozens of them, dressed in identical copies of her old clothes. Coats, shoes, even her high school backpack. They moved in jerky, clumsy steps, their plastic limbs cracking. One opened its mouth, and her own voice came out. "I'm fine, Mom. I'm just tired. I don't need help." Another mannequin joined in. "I didn't mean to disappear. I just wanted to feel something again." They repeated the phrases like a chorus, all her words, said over the years to cover pain, guilt, loneliness. Karina screamed and ran, ducking beneath swinging limbs. The mannequins gave chase, glass shards crunching underfoot. She turned down a side aisle, what used to be the kids' shoe section, and slammed into something soft and warm. Hands steadied her. Marcus. He was bleeding from the scalp but alive, eyes wild. "Karina. I don't know how I got here, but I saw you in the arcade." "Doesn't matter," she gasped. "We have to go." "Where?" "This place changes every minute." She looked past him toward the void stage machine, now perched at the end of the glowing food court. "We finished the game." Marcus hesitated. Then nodded grimly. "Let's level up." Karina and Marcus crept through the warped aisles, ducking beneath shredded banners and collapsed shelving units as they made their way toward the food court. The smell of burned grease and rotting meat hit them like a wave as they emerged into the once lively plaza. It was unrecognizable now. Every food stall pulsed with sickly light. Neon signs flickered above twisted names. "Eat and repeat." "The tongue collector." "Meat of the day, you." The tables were filled, but not with customers. Waxen figures sat slumped in chairs, their heads dipped into food trays crawling with mold and insects. Some moved. Some twitched. One slowly turned its head as they passed, face peeling and mouth sewn shut. Karina stopped short. In the center of the court sat a stage, spotlit, with a single microphone and a red velvet curtain behind it. The void stage machine was there, throned like an idol on a melted show cart, surrounded by wires and skeletal mannequins posed mid-cheer. The screen blinked. Player 2 joined. Co-op mode activated. Marcus raised an eyebrow. That's me, I guess? The screen changed again. Final round, eat or be eaten. Suddenly, the lights above the food stall surged to life. A greasy voice echoed across the plaza. Welcome to tonight's challenge. Our players must eat their way through 3 courses, or become the meal themselves. The stalls opened simultaneously, revealing steaming trays, freshly prepared food. But something was wrong. The shapes weren't right. Too many fingers. Too much bone. One burger twitched. Nope, Marcus muttered, stepping back. A bell rang. You have 60 seconds to complete round 1. The mannequins around Void Stage stood up in unison, heads turning toward Karina and Marcus. They began to advance. Karina scanned the stalls. One tray caught her eye, a pristine salad bar glowing with pale light. No meat. No movement. She grabbed a handful and forced herself to eat, gagging as the taste hit her: soap, vinegar, rot. Marcus followed her lead, diving into a bowl of unidentifiable stew. This is disgusting, he gagged. What is this? Just chew, Karina said, glancing at the void stage. Round 1 complete. Good taste. The mannequins froze. Next course, memories. The trays were suddenly gone. In their place were photo albums. Marcus picked one up. His hands trembled. These are mine. Karina opened one, gasping. Every page showed scenes she remembered, but altered. Her dad staring at her with burned-out eyes. Her mother whispering over the phone, "She's broken. She's not coming back." Her own reflection, sharpening into something cruel. "Eat," the voice commanded. Karina didn't understand, until she saw Marcus bite a photo. It dissolved in his mouth, and he screamed, grabbing his head. "Don't," she shouted, reaching for him. He sobbed. "They made me relive it, everything I forgot. The fire. The guilt. It's in the food now." Karina turned back to the void stage. The final message appeared. Dessert, forgiveness. A single plate descended from above, carried by a mannequin in a waiter's outfit. On it was a cupcake. Perfect. Frosted. Her dad's favorite. Karina picked it up. Her hands shook. "I don't want to forgive," she whispered. "I want answers." The cupcake began to melt in her hands, oozing tar. The lights went out. And the floor beneath them dropped. Karina hit the ground hard, landing on her side with a dull thud. The wind shot from her lungs as dust spiraled around her. Somewhere to her right, Marcus groaned. "Still breathing?" she croaked. "Barely." He coughed and sat up. "Where the hell are we now?" They were at the lowest level of the mall, a place Karina didn't even know existed. The space was impossibly vast, a hollowed-out cathedral of concrete, support beams, and broken tile. Above them, the mall stretched upward in layers, dimly lit floors and walkways vanishing into pitch. A chime echoed through the air. Void Stage, now massive, like a building itself, stood at the center of the space. It wasn't a machine anymore. It had grown, wrapped in cables, pipes, mannequin limbs, glowing signage, and flickering screens. It breathed, expelling hot gusts of air through vents that lined its sides. Its screen flashed a single word in burning white. End. Karina and Marcus approached slowly. Every step echoed for miles. Karina Holloway, the machine spoke, not in text, but aloud, in her own voice. "You've played well. You've survived your memories. You've digested your guilt." Then, shifting, Marcus's voice now, "But the game only ends when you confront your role in the fire." Karina stopped cold. Marcus's head turned sharply. "What fire?" The machine pulsed. Images flooded the screen, security footage, rewound and distorted. A small apartment. A gas stove left on. A young Karina crying, storming out. Her dad, entering minutes later. Then the flames. Karina collapsed to her knees. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't mean to. Void stage flared. You never told anyone. You buried it. Now it lives here. Marcus stared at her. His expression unreadable. She began, but he held up a hand. We deal with it. Now. Karina rose. How? He pointed to the center of Void Stage, where an open compartment revealed a control panel. No more running, he said. We finish it. They approached the panel, the world around them trembling. Void Stage groaned. Text scrolled across the screen faster now. Final input required. End program. Reset. 2 buttons. 1 red, confess. 1 black, forget. Karina's fingers hovered over both. She could forget everything. Leave them all empty, light, guiltless. Or confess. And carry it forever. What if I choose the wrong one, she whispered. Marcus stepped beside her. You already survived the fire. You just didn't know it. Tears burned her eyes. She pressed confess. A siren screamed. The walls cracked. Void Stage began to crumble. The ground splintered, mannequins melting, lights exploding like fireworks. A gust of heat and light swallowed them whole as the machine shrieked in static. Thank you for playing. And then? Silence. When Karina opened her eyes, everything was still. She lay on the tile floor of Mercury Heights Mall, real tile. Old. Chipped. Sticky with time, not blood or tar. Above her, fluorescent lights flickered gently. Faint elevator music wafted from unseen speakers. Somewhere nearby, a janitor's cart squeaked. She sat up fast. No Void Stage. No mannequins. No pulsating machines or broken timelines. Just the mall. Early morning. Quiet. A familiar voice crackled over her shoulder radio. Karina? You copy? Where the hell have you been? Marcus. She looked around wildly and saw him jogging toward her from across the atrium, real and alive, his uniform wrinkled but intact. He dropped beside her, eyes wide. You okay? She grabbed him by the shoulders. Was it real? He stared at her for a moment. Then nodded slowly. Parts of it had to be. He pulled something from his jacket pocket. A red game token. It read, Player 2, Marcus Green. They sat in silence, processing it all. After a while, Karina stood. The sunlight was beginning to break through the grimy skylights, casting long golden stripes across the floor. She could smell pretzel dough from the food court. She could hear the soft, mechanical hum of escalators starting their morning climb. The mall was normal again. But Karina wasn't. She reached into her pocket and found something smooth. Another token. This one said, Player 1, game complete. Underneath it, in etched silver, confession accepted. She closed her hand around it. I need to go, she said quietly. Marcus nodded. You're not the only one. They walked together past shuttered storefronts, past the fountain, past Fun Zone Arcade, which was now dark, abandoned, and completely caved in, as if no machine had ever stood inside. At the front doors, Karina turned one last time. The mall loomed behind her. Still. Watching. Waiting. She had a strange feeling, it wasn't done. That the mall had more levels. More players. But her game was over. For now.